and welcome to another video. That's how I start my videos apparently. So this is going to be my entire story of my psychiatric hospital visits because people are really interested in this to know, because not everyone experiences this, so I think people are really intrigued by it, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it, and also some of my viewers can relate to this sort of thing, and I don't know, it just seems like a topic that people are really interested in, so I thought I would talk about it in a video. And so I'm just going to be going over like why I went to the hospital, and mental hospital or psychiatric hospital, and what it was like there. And I'm going to do this in two parts because I actually had 2 hospital visits, and so this will be the part 1 for the first hospital visit. So I went to the first hospital. I'll just tell it like a story, like these are the events that happened. So one morning I woke up and okay, so let me do a little backstory. I just graduated from college, undergraduate degree in philosophy, and it had been like a month or 2 later since I actually technically graduated, and I had moved back in with my parents. I had obviously been living away during college times, but then I moved back in with my parents because I didn't know, what to do, like so many graduates. So anyways, so basically I was kind of miserable living with them. I mean, I wouldn't say miserable living with them, but it was just, it's not an ideal situation. So I was not in a very ideal situation for my mental health. So anyways, one morning I woke up and I was essentially having a panic attack, and it was kind of like a more psychotic panic attack, and I was yelling at my mom, telling her that I needed to go to the hospital. And I think part of the reason I was saying that is because I hadn't been eating very much at all, and so I kind of thought I was dying from not eating, and so I was having a panic attack because of that. And the reason I wasn't eating is because my family, they're meat eaters, not to like diss them or anything, but they eat a lot of junk food and meat and dairy, and that's great. Some people eat how that type of diet, but my type of diet is very different, and I'm a vegetarian, and I like eating only healthy food, and so I wasn't really eating much living with them because I didn't have an income. I was living off of them. Moving back in with your parents after college, it's kind of a sad situation. But anyways, so I wasn't eating very much, and so I woke up one morning and I thought I was gonna die because of like low potassium or something. Anorexic people can die from not eating and stuff like that. And I wasn't anorexic, like I wasn't psychologically anorexic, I just wasn't eating because maybe I was too picky with food, I guess. I don't know. So I was having a panic attack, I thought I was dying, and then it kind of started off being like I'm dying because I haven't eaten, and then it kind of escalated to having a full-blown psychotic episode to where I thought everything in the environment was killing me. So I can remember on the car ride to the hospital, because she finally caved in. She was telling me, she was like, no, you don't need to go to the hospital, you're fine, she was telling me that, and I was like, no, I need to go. And normally when people say they need to go to the doctor, there's like actually something physically wrong with them that they can see. You can say I have a fever, I broke my arm, something like that. But in this situation there was nothing apparent that was wrong with me besides the fact that I was telling her that I needed to go to the hospital, but there was nothing else wrong with me physically. So she didn't take me to the hospital. I wanted her to take me to like the emergency room, but she just was casually driving to our family doctor, which really annoyed me because I felt like I was having an emergency situation. She was just casually driving to our family doctor, like la la la, nothing is wrong here, even though I was like really panicking and I felt like she wasn't really taking me seriously. So then I get to the doctor's office and then I talk to a nurse. That's pretty normal when you go to the doctor's, you talk to a nurse before you talk to the doctor, you know, to kind of get like the synopsis or whatever. And I don't remember doing this, but apparently I freaked out because I didn't want to talk to a nurse. I wanted to talk to a doctor, which was like really insulting to her. It was like really insulting to her. She was like, what the fuck? I was feeling like this was an emergency situation and they weren't taking me seriously, which was the reason why I said, you know, why did you take me to a nurse? Like, but I was just being really psychotic. So then the nurse was like, for one thing, you just insulted me. For another thing, there's nothing fucking wrong with you. You're going to the psych ward. So I don't know how I got to the psych ward because by this time I was just gone mentally, like really, really not there. Kind of like being in a fugue state, I guess. I don't know, just really not in touch with reality. So the next thing I can remember was that I was in a hospital bed, like in a hospital bed, in the psych ward of a hospital emergency room. Like, it wasn't an actual psychiatric hospital, it was just the psych ward of some sort of hospital. So I was just in a bed and I was like under the sheet and I was like, thought I was freezing to death. Like, I thought everything in the environment was killing me. I thought like the sun was gonna kill me, was gonna like fry my skin off, and I thought, you know, I was so cold that, you know, I was gonna die. And so I was just like laying, like this happened a lot. I can remember this, like just being really scared. So just like being extremely like scared, and being like under the hospital blankets and being like, what the fuck, what the fuck. So I feel like if you ever see someone having a psychotic episode, they're probably gonna look scared. Like, I know some people who have like a bad trip on mushrooms, they will look really frightened. So it's very similar, not really, because it's not very similar, but it's somewhat like having a bad trip or something. So I was like under the covers, like really frightened, and thought I was dying. I was like shaking and shivering and just out of my fucking mind. Like, I can't even, like, just out of my mind. Which is why you should have compassion for these people, because it's not like it's their fault that they're out of their mind. Like, it wasn't in my control that I woke up one morning and had a panic attack and that's like trickled off into a psychotic episode. And by the way, for the people who think that medication triggered it, this was before I had ever taken any medication. So medication didn't cause anything as far as me having psychological problems. Okay, so then the nurse walked in with my mom, and I think my dad came eventually. I guess he came from work or something, because my mom was telling him what was going on. She was like, they put her in the psych ward. So anyways, so then my dad was there and my mom was there, and they walked in with the doctors, nurse, whatever, and they told me that my kidneys were producing ketones or something because of not eating. So my body was like eating itself or something. I don't even know the whole biology behind that. And I was like, do I have cancer? Like, you know, then I started having like hypochondria type symptoms, and I thought I asked him if I had cancer, and, you know, I can just imagine like just completely panicking, psychotically panicking about everything. And then it got to the point where they made it clear to me that nothing was physically wrong with me, and then it kind of like clicked in my brain, I guess, that this was like a existential crisis that I was having. Also, as part of this, I was like, okay, if nothing's physically wrong with me, then obviously I need to rationalize that something is wrong with me, you know. So then I started yelling at my parents about how they weren't there for me, they didn't pay attention to me, and all this other, they weren't supportive of me, they didn't care about me, and basically just all of my like pent up anger against my parents that I've been dealing with for many years while I was in college, because I never really was into college and I wanted to drop out and all this stuff like that. They weren't very supportive of that. But anyways, and I mean, this was all news to them. Like, they didn't know that I wasn't in contact with them because I had problems with them. Like, because I felt, you know, just, you know, we needed some family counseling, basically. But anyways, now I don't have any of those weird teenage resentments toward my parents or whatever, or anything like that. I appreciate that they're only people and they did the best that they could or whatever. So everyone's human, you know, your parents aren't perfect. So anyways, so then they asked me if so, you know, I was still having a nervous breakdown that wasn't getting any better. I was still completely just out of it on another planet, not, lucid. I can just imagine, the wheels were spinning, like, I don't know, this kind of gesture is oddly appropriate. People are like, she's crazy. Like the wheels were just kind of spun out in another dimension. So, in another dimension. So anyways, then they asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. So the first time it was voluntary, because I wasn't like, it didn't seem like I was a danger to myself or others, really. I mean, I did say that I was going to kill myself and stuff like that, as like a threat type of thing. Like, when you're really emotional and stuff like that, you're just like, I'm going to kill myself. And, it wasn't, I wasn't like dead serious or anything. Like, I wasn't like actually planning on killing myself. It was just kind of like an empty threat, I guess. Not threat, but I don't know. I guess it is a threat to like threaten to kill yourself. And then I said yes because I was like, oh, this is like some exciting adventure. I never get to do anything. I thought it was like some exciting adventure for me to do something because I had been cooped up at my parents. I mean, this is like the logical reasoning, but it wasn't really logical, but logical reasoning is that, I was like cooped up at my parents. It's really funny to kind of like try and logically examine your illogical thoughts. So there's going to be like parts of me trying to like logically explain my thinking that was completely illogical, which is very difficult to do. So yeah, so I hope you guys appreciate that. It's very difficult to kind of like, logically explain crazy thoughts. But anyways, so I guess my logic now is that, I've been cooped up with my parents and I thought this was some sort of adventure, and I did, in my illogical mind have the logic, I had, the crazy logic that this was going to be some sort of adventure and get me closer to some sort of imaginary place in my mind that I thought was, my destiny I guess is a good word. I was like, oh, this is getting me more in touch with my destiny. I decided to go, and they just packed me in. They didn't pack me in, I got into a SUV, the back of an SUV, and I took a nap, and, they drove me to Atlanta. This is all very, like, selfish. Like, it wasn't like, oh, like, thank you for driving me to the hospital. It was just like, yeah, I'm going crazy. I'm gonna, like, take a nap in the back of your car now. So, yeah, it was just all very, like, selfish. Not saying that, like, I was selfish, because that's very insensitive. I'm just saying that compared to being sane, how I was behaving was selfish, not in like an immoral sense, just in a matter-of-fact sense. Just kind of like a descriptive term, not like describing me as like a person, but describing the actions and stuff, I guess, feelings. So then I got to the hospital.